Hey, want to make some totally bodacious synthwave drums, but you're not sure how? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to walk you through several different strategies you can follow for creating epic synthwave drums. I'll also show you this one plugin you can use to create incredible synthwave drums in just seconds. Hey, I'm Regan Ram with OrpheusAudioAcademy.com, helping you make better music and grow your fan base online. Now, I love synthwave. Synthwave is incredible, and one of the most foundational elements of synthwave is the drums. So let's dive in. Let's make those drums right now. All right, so we're gonna be adding drums to this track here. It's just a basic song idea, and here's what it sounds like so far. Not bad, but we obviously need some killer synthwave drums in here. So how do we create synthwave drums? What even is a synthwave drum? Well, synthwave drums can be really made from a variety of different drum kits and samples, but what you typically think of is the Linn drum. This is such a staple of synthwave and really 80s music in general. And the Linn drum, if you don't know, was first manufactured by Linn Electronics between 1982 and 1985. Linn drum was used on many recordings throughout the 1980s, including hits such as a-ha's Take On Me, Tears for Fears Shout, and Madonna's Lucky Star. So obviously a very well-known drum kit. And if you don't know, Logic actually has its own Linn drum kit you can add in here. So I'll go ahead and add a new track here. So we'll just go default patch. We'll go to electronic drum kit and we'll scroll down until we find Linn drum. Awesome. And so I'll just play you a couple of samples here so you can hear what that sounds like. So that is a Linn drum, and you can create awesome 80s drums just with this. But if you don't have Logic and you're using something else, you can actually download some free Linn drum samples in the description of this video. I have them below, and I'll actually just show you what those sound like really quick too. These are just Linn drum sounds that I found online. You can go ahead and download these yourself, and here's what they sound like. So like I said, you can just download those by clicking in the description below. Otherwise, we can use Logic's built-in Linn drum here. Now, pattern. What pattern are we going to do? Obviously, you can use lots of different synthwave patterns, different drum patterns in your song, in your synthwave song. But by far, one of the most common, you can hear it in so many different synthwave songs, is the typical 4 on the floor kick with the snare hitting on the 2 and the 4. And then hi-hats filling in the spaces in between, and then maybe you have a tom drum fill or something like that. We're gonna go in and we're gonna create that basic pattern. And you can hear this in tons of songs. One that just stands at the top of my head is Magic by FM Attack with Christine. That's an awesome synthwave song, love it. And that follows the same drum pattern, so. There's nothing we can't hide. So we're just going to draw this in really fast, create a MIDI region. I could play it, but since this is so simple, it's easier for me just to draw it in just faster that way, especially since I'm not I don't have a actual MIDI keyboards hooked up right now. So let's draw in this kick then. Like we said, 4 on the floor. Snare hits on the 2 and the 4. I'm actually going to double up and use both these snares. And then we got the hi-hat filling in. Now let's hear what it sounds like. Pretty basic, so we'll just copy this now throughout the rest of the track. Yeah, maybe we'll throw in an open hat here for fun. So we'll keep it like that, just to keep it simple, and then we're just going to drag this all the way through. Now, as you can hear, it doesn't sound all that synthwavy yet, and that's a big part of that is because the snares don't have that signature gated reverb sound. So it's just solo drums here. We got some reverb on them, but not quite as much. So we're going to add some what's called gated reverb to these snares. So this was pioneered by Phil Collins, and it's basically what it sounds like. We put some reverb and then we gate it so you get this big blast of reverb that is suddenly silenced.
I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
So we're just going to throw out this on a bus. We'll just say bus 10. And then we're going to put on some reverb. I like the free Tal Reverb 4 plugin. This is pretty cool. So we're going to turn the wetness all the way up since it is on a bus. And then we're going to put a gate on this. And we're just going to use Logic's built-in noise gate. Then I already have a setting saved called gated reverb. And this is kind of what it looks like. So you've got pretty strong threshold here, pretty very heavy reduction in dB, obviously, because you really want to cut that down quickly. And then here we're just kind of just deciding how much reverb do we want to hear, how long do we want to leave the gate open before it closes. So we got the attack all the way up because we want it to initiate right away. But then when do we want it to close? We want it to be open just for a little bit so we can hear some of that reverb. That's what the hold is, open a little bit here, and the release is a little bit slower. But then we want that to close down. So that's the gated reverb, that's the gate. So now we just got to turn it up here on the snare. And we'll just use snare 1 for now, and we'll hear what that sounds like. One last thing we have to do is we have to then side chain this. So we'll click this little chain here, and we're going to side chain this with snare 1. So now let's hear what that sounds like. So if that's open a little bit too long for you, we can reduce the release. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing with the second snare, add that to the same gated reverb. So now we got that nice big reverby snare, and we'll hear it with the rest of the kick now, or rest of the kit. Yeah, so how much reverb you want, that's up to you and your taste and what you want to sound like. Otherwise, that's a pretty good sounding, I think, 80s drum kit right there. Now let's work on the kick here. So let's start with some EQ. Obviously we don't need that side chained. Now, by default, I think there's just too much low mid in this sample. You hear too much like that knocking sound. So we're gonna cut that out, tighten that up a little bit. And then I'm gonna boost some of the low end as well. A little bit more boomy. All right, and I want just some more of that click too. I kind of like the clicky kick drum sound. Just helps it stand out a little bit. So we're gonna boost that a little bit and then boost the very high end here. So let's hear it before and then after. So I like that. It's a little bit more synthwave sounding. And so now we got this kick and we've got the snares. And then we got the hi-hat as well. So for this, I'm just gonna filter what we don't need here. And boost some of the highs. Otherwise, I'm just going to drop the volume a little bit. Otherwise, I think that's a pretty good synthwave drum kit we got right there. Now it is a little bit dull. We want it to be a little punchier, and a great way to do this is to add parallel compression. I did a whole separate video on how to get punchy drums previously, so you can check that out if you kind of want the full explanation for what parallel compression is and all the different ways you can use it on your drums. But I'm just going to use a plugin here I really like that helps me get really a lot of punch really quickly, and that is the I Heart NY plugin. This is just a parallel compression plugin right here. So we're just going to dial up and kind of just blend in the parallel compression until we get those nice punchy drums. All right, I like that. That's a lot better. Obviously, this is a broad stroke here. Generally, you want to do a bunch of smaller little things to improve your drums incrementally. But this just really quickly gets your drums sounding, I think, pretty close to where you want them to be. And if you're in a crunch, this is a really great tool. And so you can hear before and after. And if that's just a little too loud, we can just dial back the output as well. All right, there we go. And now one last thing you can do is, and I'm actually gonna put this in front of the parallel compression, is adding some saturation. And a plugin I really like for this is another plugin actually by Baby Audio, the same company that made the iHeart NY, is Super VHS, and both of these plugins are linked below as well. I'm gonna just put this above the compressor, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of heat to this drum, and we'll see what that does. So let's add some distortion. So you can see it just kind of fills it out more and adds some more warmth and just some more of that 80s grit. And so I like that. And this is a really cool plugin. You can use it for a lot of stuff. You can even go really crazy with this magic button here and add some chorus effect. Obviously that sounds really crazy. Or you can even add some more reverb to the whole kit if you want with wash. But that's not something I want here for this song. So I think that's pretty good. That's a really kind of a quick way to get you that 80s drum sound. And Logic has some great quick controls here too, if you want to like add up some extra drive or distortion if you don't have these Super VHS plugins, so you could just add in some drive here if you wanted to. So I'll turn off the Super VHS. So that's bringing in this overdrive plugin by doing that. Just the stock Logic plugin here. And if you wanted to add some more reverb to the whole kit, you can do that as well. But I don't like doing that because then things get very muddy for the most part. So that's a pretty good start right there for these drums. Now, I talked about showing you how to create some awesome synthwave drums in just seconds. Obviously, if you're a great drum programmer, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with these drums and creating your own pattern. But I really like this plugin by UJam called Vice. And this is a plugin specifically for creating synthwave drums, and I absolutely love it. It is incredible. It even has the DeLorean time machine on it from Back to the Future. How cool is that? I'm gonna have an entirely separate video dedicated to this plugin and showing you how it works. But basically you get your samples right here. And there's a whole bunch of different kits too, so you don't just have to use the one Lindrum kit. You got all these different kits here. And you also have all these different kind of presets of all these different styles of drums, which are really cool because you got, like I said, you got the samples here, but you also have these really cool loops here. So you can hear what those sound like. So you got verse style loops, you got choruses, you got fills, you got intros, you got endings, you got breakdowns, special, all really cool stuff here. So we got that, and then we can move, and you can use a more modern sounding or more retro sounding if you want. And you can see these are all kind of named after things from the 80s or bands from the 80s. So you can see Pink Rain, that's a play on Purple Rain by Prince. Filthy Dancing instead of Dirty Dancing. Wax On, Wax Off from Karate Kid. Enter the Grid, obviously just a synthwave known aesthetic. Conan the Bavarian, A British Werewolf in New York. Miami Nice, Shake Your Mullet, Cyberpunk, and Gonna Let You Down, obviously. So just really cool here, and let's just hear what that sounds like. Yeah, you can hear yourself just wanting to start singing that Rick Astley song there. Really cool stuff here. So I'm just going to find something I like. I'm just going to drag it into here. And you can do that here by just grabbing this. So I'm going to do that now. And then I can also pull in a drum fill. Kind of like that one, so I'm going to drag that one in. All right, so now I have my drums. I'll just drag this over, copy this over, and of course you could break all these out and put all these MIDI notes on their own separate tracks, which I definitely recommend, putting your kick on its own track, your snare on its own track, hi-hat, etc. For mixing purpose, and so you can give everything its own place and its own treatment in the mix. But as is, you can see that this sounds really good. And you can also go in and you can edit these individual samples if you want. So if we listen to like the kick drum right here, if we select on this, we can edit some of the parameters here. So we can filter it down a little bit if we want it to be a little deeper. So I'll have that be a little bit deeper, I think, for this. And we got the snare. I just want to pull the volume down on that maybe. Same for this hi-hat. This hi-hat's sticking out a little bit. So we can filter it down if you wanted to, or just turn the volume down a bit. And of course you can, like I said, you can break these all out on separate tracks if you wanted to. And as always, you can throw on that iHeart NY parallel compression plugin if you want, just to give it a little bit more punch. All right, and that is how you make synthwave drums. Hope you found this video helpful. And again, if you don't have Logic's LinnDrum, or you don't want to go and get the Vice plugin, then be sure to download those LinnDrum samples in the description below. Otherwise, drop this video a like if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye.